American politics, of course, a big election year. We in Britain, of course, have given huge amounts to Ukraine as well in military aid. I want to talk to Cormac Smith, who's a former Ukrainian government advisor. Cormac, you must be delighted that this has finally come through.
Peter, good morning. It's lovely to join you again.
Hi there.
Look, this is very, very significant. And yes, I'm delighted. I tweeted yesterday, thank God, Godspeed Ukraine. But we need to put this into context. For a start, this has been, and I spoke to various Ukrainian friends this morning once you asked me to come on. This has been delayed for nearly 6 months. That 6 months delay has cost literally thousands of Ukrainian lives. It's very, very significant. We're hearing we're hearing reports about the Russians outgunning the Ukrainians up to 10 to 1 in certain parts of the front line. So low in ammunition are the Ukrainians running. What I would say, yes, it's great news, but a few people today have been quoting the apocryphal quote, maybe attributed to Winston Churchill, that America always does the right thing once all other options have been
Mm.
exhausted.
It,
Well, I'd like to say this is not America. This is not like America deciding to enter the First World War, the Second World War. I liken it to a lifeline being thrown to Ukraine. We have to get them onto the lifeboat and we have to get them ashore in very, very choppy waters. So, yes, it's great. And what's also fantastic, tied up in the same bill, is I don't know whether it's 8 or 9 billion of frozen Russian assets to be in the United States to be released to Ukraine also. Now, there is the proviso. This is yet to be signed off by the Senate and by Joe Biden, but we absolutely expect that to happen. So fantastic news, but I needed to put it in that
Mm.
context.
Well, Cormac, it's interesting because there has been all sorts of criticism, certainly from Republicans, mainly in America, saying that this is America last. This is a rejection of the America First policy. This is Biden trying to bestride the world stage and be influential without actually demanding that there should be peace at some stage or some outcome to the Ukrainian war that isn't simply just more war. I wonder what your thoughts are on that criticism. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, who is a Republican, a pro-Trump Republican, says you never hear anybody demanding peace. That's because it doesn't fit the business model.
Absolute rubbish. Look, we virtually know that Trump is in the pocket of Putin, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the far right MAGA wing of the Republican Party and is a well-known, spouts Kremlin narratives all of the time. Look, it's very concerning. The Republican Party is virtually split down the middle. 101 Republicans voted for the bill to pass. 112 Republicans voted against the bill. As for the point for peace, there is one way for peace, and as a good Ukrainian friend of mine said at the start of this war, if Russia stops fighting, there will be no war. If Ukraine stops fighting, there will be no Ukraine. And I really, at this point, want to remind viewers of the absolute barbarous atrocities which are being carried out by Russian forces in the occupied territories on a daily basis of rape, not just of women, but of mothers, grandmothers, children, babies, even of torture, of murder. And unfortunately, we know that this is something that Russia has a track record for. So the Ukrainian position is why should why should they why should they give up some of their land? Why would if if Kent had been invaded and by any power, and that power were committing the sort of atrocities to British citizens in Kent, would we be willing to say yes, we should cede Kent for peace?
Okay.
Um, Two things. One, if we were or if the Ukrainians were to cede land for peace, they absolutely believe, and I believe, having spent 2 years out in that neighborhood, that Russia would simply reinforce and renew themselves and come back later for the rest. They've made it very, very clear what they want. But that sort of a peace deal would also be condemning millions of people in the occupied territories to the sort of atrocities. that I've mentioned, but including the kidnap of
Okay.
tens of thousands of children to that sort of a fate. So I think it's a non-starter.
Do you really think that Trump is in Putin's pocket? I mean, that is a very, very strong allegation to make.
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. Cormac, thank you very much indeed. Cormac Smith, who is the former Ukrainian government advisor. Let's get an American perspective on this from Greg Swenson. He's chairman of the Republicans overseas. Greg, it's interesting because we have a situation here where there is a lot of Republican annoyance, certainly from Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's another representative here who I'm reading out, Paul Gosar, who is saying rather than spending the resources to secure our southern border and combating the invasion of 11 million illegal immigrants, and despite repeated promises that there would be no additional money going to Ukraine without first securing our border, the United States House of Representatives, under the direction of the Speaker, is on the verge of sending another $61 billion to further draw America into an endless and purposeless war in Ukraine. This is clearly something that has been a major issue of great political contention in the United States for many months now, Greg.
Yeah, look, Peter, I don't disagree with just about everything that Cormac said. I don't agree that Trump is in Putin's pocket. Other than that, and I'm glad you asked him to clarify, and he did quite clearly. But look, there's a fringe element in the Republican Party, right